So the temperature in the Middle East is rising again. Yesterday we had a quite an impressive show of force from the coalition forces, mainly US and UK, on the Houthis located in Yemen. The Houthi forces got really active during the war of Israel and Hamas, but they have been causing problems for many years and actually causing problems to Saudi Arabia. Recently, however, they have crossed a red line because they started attacking ships, cargo ships going from Asia to Europe. And that's a big problem for the world economy and the stability of world trade. Now, the situation in Yemen is very complicated. The country is fragmented into zones controlled by different parties. And the Houthis are, of course, one fraction within the country. But they are very loud fraction and very problematic fraction to the country itself and also the surrounding countries, as we saw in recent months. And although maybe they would like to be viewed as an independent entity, they're really a paramilitary, they really are a proxy army of Iran. They are supported by Iran and they are also sponsored by Iran. And Iran, of course, for many years is a rival of Saudi Arabia and of course a sworn enemy of Israel. And of course there were instances of rockets being fired towards Israel since the operation in Gaza. And those rockets had to be shut down by the US military. So despite the quite a long distance, rockets were actually fired from Yemen towards Israel. And of course, Yemen doesn't have any business in fighting Israel in a war. Of course, they would lose this war and suffer great casualties. So it's really illogical for them to attack a country like Israel. But this is not just the country of Yemen. As I told you, the country is very fragmented, and the particular part that's really problematic is the region located close to this very important sea passage that is used internationally. And it must be said that war between Yemen and Saudi Arabia has been going for years now, and drones were sent towards the territory of Saudi Arabia, attacking even the oil production facilities. So, of course, Saudi Arabia was retaliating, but and even asking the United States to do something about it. But since this was a very local conflict, which was quite sporadic and didn't escalate too much, the international community was not very interested in this conflict. However, recently things have changed. Since there was no response from the international community to the attacks of terror that were done locally, the Houthis got really brave and started hijacking international ships going from Asia to Europe. And that's a totally different game. You see, the ships have to go through this narrow strait, which is located next to the shores of Yemen, and then go up to Egypt, to the Suez Canal, through which they can enter the Mediterranean Sea and enter Europe. This is the closest and most profitable way for the cargo ships to enter Europe. If this passage is closed, if it's unsafe to actually travel through this route, then the ships have to go all around Africa to reach Europe. And that means a lot of money that's wasted and a lot of cargo that is delayed. So it's a problem, not just for one country, but many countries, especially those in Europe. And you see, this is mostly the problem of Europe, not necessarily the United States, which is trying to actually withdraw from this region, from the Middle East, and get focused on the Pacific. But because the United States have functioned as a policeman for many, many decades, now the international community started actually pressuring the United States to actually do something. And because Europe is an ally, still an ally of the United States, that's why the United States got involved in this attack. And this is actually the problem of Europe, that they don't actually have an army. They have relied for decades for the power of the United States for protection, for keeping everything safe. So now when the United States are trying to pull out of Europe, to pull out of the Middle East, Europe has a real problem. And they don't have an army. They always focused on the economy, on thinking about trade deals, but never really focused in a serious way about the military. And now they are kind of like stuck with this new situation where it's no longer the United States' interest to safeguard Europe. So Europe really needs to step up its game if it doesn't want to have a chaos in its backyard. Because think about it, the United States is even independent as far as oil. They don't need the Middle East resources. They used to rely on it in a minor way in the past, but now United States is fully independent as far as energy. And Europe is the one that still needs the resources that are located in the Middle East. And really, if you think about it, the United States kept this region stable for the case of their allies, the European allies, not for their own security, energy security. Now, when the United States are slowly pulling out of the Middle East, this is a great problem for Israel, because suddenly they don't have a strong ally in the region that would keep Israel's enemy at bay. So Israel is far more interested now to partner with Saudi Arabia. And actually this is a step made by former President Donald Trump that began this process of closing relationships between Israel and Saudi Arabia. And in recent years, this relation has been improving. And of course, they do have a common enemy, which is Iran. Now, we still don't know what will be the position of Turkey, which is also a very important power in the region. Turkey is still a big question mark as to which alliance it will choose. Of course, Turkey is very aggressive in its rhetoric towards Israel, but as far as trading, they're still trading with Israel. Recently, Erdogan has been more and more vocal as to criticizing Israel, but so far it's mainly words and not actions. So we don't know exactly which direction Turkey will go. Then, of course, you have Iran, which is totally against Israel. And Iran, of course, is in very close relationship with Russia. And Russia is now totally dependent on China. So you have this kind of coalition forming within the Middle East that you can see today. And it seems that there will be some kind of clash between those two powers. You have Israel, you have Saudi Arabia, and of course all those enemies of this coalition, which is Iran, which is Russia. Of course, Russia has been criticizing, for example, recently the things that Israel is doing in Gaza, and also when the United States and UK attacked the Houthis, Russia is very, very troubled by that, and of course we know on which side Russia will stand. And Russia is a big, big country with still quite maybe not so impressive army, but a huge amount of nuclear rockets. So as I said in the beginning, the temperature in the Middle East is rising rapidly. And when the United States will finally withdraw from this region, there will be a power struggle, there will be a confrontation. And of course, understanding our perspective, understanding the biblical perspective, you think about the final wars of Israel against the enemies, for example, the Gog and Magog. I might actually do a episode on this topic. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in hearing my perspective on the future conflict that is prophesied in the Old Testament. Let me know if you're interested in hearing more about this conflict and how it may turn out.